All right, so we've talked about dominant creative. We've got normalizing and harmonizing left. Let's talk about normalizing next.
Okay, so this is basically the exact opposite of the creative subtype. And this is an ESTP that is not one that courts danger and not one that is fly by the seat of their pants and tuned into all this, stuff. This is actually an ESTP that's more analytic, conventional, disciplined, organized, right? They're the most responsible of the 4 subtypes of ESTP. And so they're going to look more tame.
Yeah.
They're going to have more endurance as a person. They're going to be a little bit more focused on details and facts. And in Linda Barron's vernacular, they're going to have more of a chart the course style. So in terms of career, what would influence them is that they're more tuned into speaking and listening to word content. So the other 2 ESTP types are more visually looking for feedback cues from other people, like reading their body language, facial expressions, vocal tonality. This is more listening for specific words.
So if the other 2 are more about demonstration, this is more about articulation. This ESTP here.
Exactly. Mental planning and logic, right? Identifying and labeling. They remember a lot of sensory, tactical, and factual details that are relevant to their work. So they're going to do much better than especially their creative counterpart. They're going to do much better in school. They're going to do a lot better in the workplace. They are going to be more conventional in a 9-to-5 day job. And they are less likely to need that platform thinking, right? They can also, they can also be entrepreneurs, right? They can work for themselves, but not the scale that the dominant subtype is looking for. They're more likely to be maybe a solopreneur, right? Somebody who's just sort of doing their own gig or working for a larger organization. They are good at putting presentations together, packaging things. They're really good at designing products. As opposed to having that more creative bent, this is less about designing something new and more about calibrating.
Yeah.
They look for leverage points. They're looking for things that can be done better. They're more precision thinkers, right, with all those facts and figures in their mind. So they're going to find like the best way to do something. And that's more of a supportive role, right?
Yeah.
Is to calibrate what's already been, or what is already being done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and also their neurotransmitter would be serotonin. Serotonin is the chemical of choice for the normalizing subtype.
Exactly. And so they, like their other ESTP subtype brethren, are pretty flexible. They can be almost in any industry. And so there's not like a laundry list of careers that they can be in because they can kind of do anything, honestly. But this is going to be, again, more about, anything that allows them to ameliorate a product, anything that allows them to do better. And because they're more tapped into language, then in their area of expertise, they can actually become very good teachers, right? So an ESTP that is maybe a high school teacher is more likely to be a normalizing subtype.
Yeah.
Or one that's creating portfolio packages, to present is going to be more likely to be a normalizing ESTP.
And this would make sense for the type geeks out there. The cognitive function of extroverted sensing or sensation, this function in this subtype is holistic. It's more diffused. And the analytic or the push out function is going to be the introverted thinking or accuracy co-pilot auxiliary.
Right.
And that makes sense because there's more judgment, there's more distinction making, which requires you to pay more attention to language being used. The words people use show you what mental processes, or at least how they're thinking about things. And so this is a focus for this subtype, to watch the language, how are people communicating, all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, our judging function, in this case, introverted thinking, is our should statements about the world. And it's when it's analytic, when it's push out, it's less flexible. It has more certainty about how something should happen. And then
you said you're not an ESTP, just to make sure I'm clear on that.
I'm not. I'm an ENTP.
You share the same
I do.
co-pilot auxiliary.
Yeah. Well, but it actually works the same for all the types. If we're talking about a judging function, it doesn't matter what personality type you are, the judging function is the part of you that goes, oh, the world should be this way.
Yeah.
And so for us, all humans, when we have an analytic or more assertive judging function, it means that we have more opinions on how things should be done, right? And we stick to those a little bit more. Whereas when our perceiving function, or in this case, an ESTP's perceiving function of extroverted sensing, or what we call sensation, is holistic, it's a little bit more open-ended. And this is what makes them less devil may care, right? As opposed to asserting that energy of being in the action and fast timing and bold action. This is a function that's a little more sort of muted.
Yeah.
It's more receiving. What is the world telling me? It's more like looking at details and remembering information than it is about like, oh, I want to take a specific action. And due to that, these ESTPs tend to be a lot less talkative. Even though they're more tuned into language, they are less assertive with their personalities. And so they tend to be a lot less talkative, a little quieter, and they might also mistype as STJ types.
And so this is probably the subtype that could make it in a traditional 9-to-5 office environment, traditional role, middle management. You might, if you identify with this, that might be the career path for you as an ESTP.
Yeah, exactly.